Karl Malone was 20 years old, impregnated a 13-year-old, got the away from her, wanted nothing to do with the baby.
That clip right there sums up why Karl Malone's reputation has been slipping for years. From podcast hosts to legends to fans online, it feels like every corner of the basketball world has taken a swing at his name again and again. The noise hasn't faded, and it definitely hasn't been quiet. But then the mailman finally spoke up after years of staying silent. Malone pushed back at critics he believes tried to chip away at everything he built. The empire he spent decades stacking brick by brick. For a long time, it was all about highlight tapes and dominance, but cracks started showing, and suddenly the spotlight wasn't just about what happened on the court anymore. On the floor, though, Malone was a straight problem. Drafted 13th overall by the Utah Jazz in 1985, he came in hungry and ready to control the paint. The nickname The Mailman stuck because he delivered every night. Buckets, boards, hard screens, non-stop pressure. He clocked in and handled business. The numbers speak loud. 36,928 career points. Third on the NBA's all-time scoring list.
Meets the kid 17 years later, 17 years old. Says, listen, dog, it's too late for me to it's too late for me to be a dad to you. You got to go get it out the mud, get it on your own.
Add 14,968 rebounds, 2 MVP awards in 1997 and 1999, 14 All-Star appearances, and 11 straight first-team All-NBA selections, second only to LeBron James. 3 first-team All-Defensive honors, too. That resume is heavy from top to bottom. Paired with John Stockton, Malone helped create one of the most unstoppable pick-and-roll duos the league had ever seen. Defenders knew what was coming and still couldn't shut it down. For nearly 2 decades, Utah stayed in the championship mix because of that chemistry and toughness. The Jazz retired his number 32 in 2006. In 2010, he entered the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame as both an individual star and a member of the legendary 1992 United States men's Olympic basketball team. 2 Olympic gold medals in 1992 and 1996. He also owns the all-time record for free throws made, 9,787, and attempted 13,188. Purely by basketball standards, the production is undeniable.
That speaks to the difference between the NBA and NFL.
How?
Because Michael Irvin got straight dropped.
Malone locked in his spot among basketball's elite, no question. But this is where the narrative flips. For all the points, trophies, and banners, his name doesn't carry the same respect as many legends from his era. The statue outside the arena in Salt Lake City has sparked protests instead of applause. And even with nearly 37,000 points, more fans and media voices are asking if the NBA and the Utah Jazz should still celebrate him the same way. So when Malone stepped into debates about today's game and the GOAT talk, the reaction wasn't about numbers. The spotlight snapped right back to his past, to who he is beyond basketball. That chapter refuses to disappear. Back in 1983, before he ever played an NBA game, Malone was a 20-year-old college sophomore at Louisiana Tech University. He fathered a child with Gloria Bell, who was 13 when she gave birth. Reports have stated the relationship began when she was below Louisiana's legal age of consent at the time, which was 17. Under state law, that situation met the definition of a statutory offense involving a minor. No criminal charges were filed, according to reporting from the Salt Lake Tribune and ESPN. Bell's family chose not to pursue legal action. It was widely reported they believed that sending Malone to jail would eliminate any chance of financial support for the child. That decision was described as one made out of economic survival during a difficult situation. It allowed Malone to continue his basketball career without facing a court case. The child, Demetris Bell, later became an NFL offensive lineman, drafted by the Buffalo Bills in 2008 and played professionally until 2015. By many accounts, his path to the league was built without steady support from his father. In 1986, during Malone's second season with the Utah Jazz, Gloria Bell's family filed a paternity lawsuit asking for $200 a week in child support. At first, Malone denied he was the father. A Louisiana court ordered DNA testing, and the results confirmed paternity with overwhelming probability. He was then ordered to pay $125 per week plus medical expenses moving forward. Not long after, around 1988 or 1989, the case was settled privately. Reports said the agreement allowed Malone to avoid publicly acknowledging paternity at that time. To many watching from the outside, the message felt clear. He wanted the situation handled quietly and kept away from headlines. Years later came the moment that stayed with critics. When Demetress Bell was about 17, he reached out hoping to build a relationship with his biological father. In later interviews, Bell said Malone told him it was too late for that kind of bond and that he would have to find his own way. Bell once described it by saying, "It was like my mom went to a sperm bank." That quote spread everywhere: articles, podcasts, social media. And it shaped how many people judged Malone's character. One podcast broke down the full timeline, step by step, from the lawsuit to that rejection, laying out a story that was hard to brush aside. When father and son eventually met years later, the interaction was described as distant and uncomfortable.
Karl Malone out there, like, it's proven that this is your kid.
There's progeny running around that is proof of the act of rape.
Critics argued the pattern spoke louder than any press release ever could, and the Gloria Bell case wasn't the only controversy tied to his personal life. Malone also fathered twins, Daryl and Cheryl Ford, with Bonita Ford. A paternity lawsuit followed in the late 1980s after he was already in the NBA. Reports say he initially resisted DNA testing in that case as well, which led to drawn-out legal disputes before another private settlement was reached. According to public accounts, Malone did not build a relationship with the twins until they were around 17 and gaining attention as basketball prospects in the late 1990s. Critics pointed to that timing as part of a bigger pattern: children born young, denial of responsibility, legal pushback, and later attempts to reconnect once they were older. Fair or not, that narrative locked into his public image and has followed him ever since. On the court, Malone's style added more fuel to the debate. He was known as one of the most physical players of his era, and some opponents labeled his play as dirty. The most infamous moment came on December 14th, 1991, when he hit Isaiah Thomas with an elbow during a game against the Detroit Pistons. Thomas needed 40 stitches. The NBA suspended Malone for one game and fined him $10,000. Many fans felt the punishment was light considering the injury. Other stars spoke up too. Dominique Wilkins confronted him over rough play during the 1997 Western Conference Finals, and Hakeem Olajuwon criticized the Jazz for their physical tactics. Malone often stood at the center of those clashes, and that reputation stuck. Then came 1991, when Magic Johnson announced he was HIV positive and later explored returning to the league. Malone publicly shared concerns about player safety at the time. Those comments triggered major backlash, with many saying they reflected the fear and misinformation surrounding HIV during that era. Looking back, that stance has been heavily criticized and is often mentioned as another stain on his legacy.
So what do we go off of, dude? Because this is the argument that I have today. Like, you know, like, better player is one thing.
Yes.
Like, is he just like, let's take away all the accolades?
Near the end of his career, more controversy followed during the 2003 to 2004 season with the Los Angeles Lakers, where he played alongside Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, and Gary Payton. Vanessa Bryant accused Malone of making inappropriate and suggestive comments toward her. One reported remark about hunting for young Mexican girls caused serious outrage. Malone's agent acknowledged parts of the exchange but disputed the intent. The situation created a deep rift between Malone and Kobe that never truly healed. For someone already under intense scrutiny over past allegations and legal disputes, this incident amplified public criticism even more. By then, the list of controversies, early paternity cases, legal battles, physical on-court clashes, HIV-related comments, and misconduct accusations had reshaped how many fans viewed him. For critics, it stopped being just about basketball. They believed the pattern was too consistent to ignore. Yet despite all of that, including the past relationship controversy, paternity disputes, violent moments on the court, comments about Magic Johnson, and the accusations from Vanessa Bryant, the NBA continued bringing Malone back to major stages. That contradiction is where this story really gets intense. In February 2023, the league invited him as a celebrity judge for All-Star Weekend's dunk contest, and the reaction was immediate. It was one of the NBA's biggest global stages, cameras flashing, broadcasters smiling, and Malone presented like a celebrated icon. To many viewers, it looked like decades of controversy had simply been brushed aside. The backlash came fast and loud. Rolling Stone published a sharp article arguing he should be permanently barred from NBA events, revisiting the Gloria Bell case and the Vanessa Bryant accusations while describing what they saw as a repeated pattern. The Salt Lake Tribune ran an opinion piece saying the Utah Jazz needed to stop giving him a platform. Social media erupted, and the NBA stayed silent. One podcast host who had previously detailed Malone's history didn't hold back after seeing him front and center at All-Star Weekend. They compared it to how the National Football League handled controversy involving Michael Irvin. Irvin had been removed from league festivities over a harassment accusation. Not a conviction, not a court ruling, an accusation. Meanwhile, Malone sat courtside at the NBA's premier event with a past that has been widely documented in legal records and media reports. That image, Malone judging a dunk contest while his history went undiscussed by the league, was impossible for critics to ignore. The host also raised another uncomfortable point. No one in that arena was likely to confront him directly. Even in his 60s, Malone still looks imposing. 6'9", Hall of Famer frame, built like he could still grab 10 rebounds tomorrow. The criticism lives online, in columns and on podcasts. Face-to-face challenges, rare. One host used a blunt legal term to describe Malone's past conduct involving a minor. No soft phrasing, no euphemisms. It was a word many critics had used quietly for years. Hearing it spoken so directly on a public platform shifted the tone completely. It separated the basketball legend from the man behind the headlines. And that distinction hit hard. That dynamic, loud outrage online, quiet rooms in person, has shaped how Malone keeps showing up at league events. As long as no one causes a scene inside the arena, the NBA can move forward like nothing's wrong. The controversy stays digital, the ceremonies stay polished, and the tension just sits there under the surface. The league, continuing to feature him, also reopened questions about his rocky relationship with the Utah Jazz. In 2012, Malone publicly criticized the franchise over how it handled tension between star guard Deron Williams and longtime head coach Jerry Sloan. He accused the organization of siding with player power over a coaching legend. That didn't sit well with ownership. Jazz owner Greg Miller responded publicly, calling Malone unreliable and evasive, strong words aimed at a franchise icon. Around that same time, Malone reportedly showed interest in coaching or assistant roles with the team, but nothing came from it. The relationship looked strained, even fractured for a while. By the Jazz's 50th anniversary season in 2024, the sides appeared to cool tensions. Malone was featured again in team celebrations. His highlights played on big screens. His legacy was honored. And once again, opinion pieces and social media posts questioned why the franchise kept circling back. For critics, every tribute felt tone-deaf considering the unresolved weight of his past. For supporters, the argument stayed simple. His basketball resume speaks for itself. That push and pull, Achievement versus accountability has defined the Malone debate for years. When asked about backlash, he has often responded with short, dismissive answers, showing little interest in revisiting old allegations. He leans hard on his accomplishments, his longevity, his place in history, but the questions never fully go away. So here he stands in a contradiction. A Hall of Famer whose numbers scream greatness. A public figure whose record keeps sparking anger and debate. A league that celebrates him under bright lights while critics keep calling him out from the sidelines. That gap between those two realities is why this story refuses to fade. In 2023 interviews, Malone brushed off questions about his past with short replies like, "I don't care, whatever," and "I'm human." To many observers, that tone felt dismissive. There's no public record of a formal apology to Gloria Bell or a detailed public reckoning about what happened in 1983. Beyond the court-ordered child support payments he initially resisted, critics argue there has been little visible accountability. Because of that, Malone exists in a strange space. On one side, his resume is too historic to erase. On the other, his personal controversies make full celebration uncomfortable for many fans. His statue still stands outside the arena in Salt Lake City. His number still hangs from the rafters, but reputation is more than banners and box scores. The respect that turns stats into lasting admiration has, for some, worn down year after year. Podcast by podcast, viral clip by viral clip. Public opinion has been delivering its judgment slowly but steadily through 2025 and into 2026. Malone has mostly stayed quiet about his image. The basketball world hasn't. Then came what felt like a counterpunch. If the controversies chipped away at his legacy, his nationally televised comments about LeBron James looked like an attempt to grab the microphone back and shift the narrative. Malone jumped into the GOAT debate like he owned the mic. Not gentle, not polite, straight pressure. Love him or hate him. The moment he started talking, one thing was obvious. He wasn't there to play nice. In January 2025, Malone sat down for what was supposed to be a chill, nostalgic interview on a major sports network. Producers probably wanted cute stories about the Stockton to Malone pick and roll, locker room laughs, and a respectful nod to today's stars. That's not what happened. Malone looked right into the camera and dropped a sharp, detailed critique of LeBron James's case for greatest of all time. No smoothing it over, no careful wording. He didn't do the usual. He's in the conversation and move on. He came direct with the real question. What separates a great player from the greatest? For Malone, the line was clear. Raw talent and monster stats make you great, but the greatest is about something stricter, something that survives the biggest stage without cracking. He pointed at LeBron's 4-6 finals record and said the GOAT label can't pretend that mark doesn't matter. Then he pulled out the Jordan comparison like it was a stamp. 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, and 6-0 when the lights were brightest. Malone framed that as dominance, not just numbers, but mindset, edge, and how you approach pressure. After that, he switched to LeBron's career path and laid it out step by step, almost like a courtroom rundown. 7 seasons in Cleveland the first time, no titles. Then taking his talents to South Beach to team up with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. 2 established stars, 4 finals trips, 2 rings, and a 2-2 split. After Miami, LeBron headed back to Cleveland, and Kevin Love was already in place to build another star trio. That run ended with 1 championship. Then came Los Angeles, where Anthony Davis, already a dominant force, became his running mate with the Los Angeles Lakers. At every destination, Malone pushed the same narrative. Elite support was part of the package. Then he pivoted hard to Michael Jordan. Malone argued Jordan didn't bail when Chicago struggled. He didn't link up with rivals. He didn't switch cities to reset the board. He absorbed losses to Detroit, stayed locked in, and evolved. The Bulls organization developed Scottie Pippen into a Hall of Fame weapon. The team transformed from average to legendary. And Jordan never swapped jerseys. Malone painted that as the true dividing line. Loyalty, patience, finishing what you start. In his view, that's the gap between being great and being the greatest. As the debate was already boiling, he leaned even heavier into clutch moments, championship-sealing shots, performances that quiet entire arenas, legacy-defining stretches when the pressure is suffocating. He implied that perfection on the biggest stage outweighs pure longevity. The response was immediate. Some fans applauded him for voicing what they've been thinking. Others said he was redirecting attention from his own controversial image by going at LeBron James. Either way, the clips flooded timelines fast. For someone whose reputation has lived under a microscope, this wasn't casual basketball talk. It felt strategic, a move to reclaim narrative ground. Malone wasn't apologizing. He wasn't revisiting history. He was planting his stance in the present and demanding respect as a basketball voice. And just like that, the sports world fractured again, especially in those final seconds when the score is tied and everyone knows who's supposed to take the last shot. That's when legends show themselves. Malone said guys like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant didn't just accept pressure, they chased it. Their eyes lit up in those final seconds. They hunted the last shot. That obsession with ending the game yourself, that killer switch flipping on, was the gap between great and unforgettable. Then Malone dropped the question that hits LeBron James supporters hard. How many times have we seen LeBron pass out of the final shot? How often has he kicked it to a teammate in crunch time instead of taking the risk himself? Malone said it wasn't about basketball IQ. It was about ownership, being willing to live with the miss if it rims out. Then he brought up 2011, the NBA Finals, Miami Heat versus the Dallas Mavericks. LeBron's team was the heavy favorite. This was supposed to be the coronation after the decision, the clean knockout punch to every critic. Instead, LeBron averaged under 18 points per game in that series, the lowest of his finals career. In the fourth quarters, when superstars are expected to take over, he looked hesitant at times, passive. Dallas won in 6. Dirk Nowitzki led the charge, and role players like Jason Terry, J.J. Barea, and Shawn Marion stepped up fearless and confident. Malone didn't soften it. He called it a collapse on the sport's biggest stage. He argued that no matter how many records LeBron breaks, that series sticks to his legacy, a mark that highlight reels can't completely wash away. What made the critique sharper was who it came from. Malone isn't sitting on 6 rings. He knows heartbreak. He reached the finals in 1997 and 1998 and ran straight into Jordan's Bulls both times. He put up huge numbers across his career, but he knows what it feels like to fall short when everything is on the line. He dominated his position and still never won a title. But here's the twist. Malone never crowned himself the GOAT. He never claimed that throne. He knows what falling short feels like, and in his mind, that gives him the right to question anyone else reaching for the top spot. He framed it not as hate, but as standards. And the reaction? Explosive. Social media lit up instantly. Clips flooded every platform. YouTube titles blasted headlines like Malone drops brutal LeBron take and GOAT debate shaken again. Debate shows turned up the volume. Timelines turned chaotic. The basketball world became one giant argument overnight, but the loudest response was silence. LeBron James, who often speaks on politics, culture, family, and the game, said nothing. No tweets, no subtle captions, no indirect shots, no statement from Rich Paul, just silence. And that silence echoed. In the weeks after, other former players started hinting around the topic. A careful comment here, a vague mention of championship DNA there. Nothing as direct as Malone, but enough to show the door had been opened. Once he said it loudly, others felt more comfortable circling the same point. Now it's bigger than one interview, bigger than one hot take. Karl Malone's legacy has become a full tug-of-war. On one side, the numbers, the awards, the Hall of Fame resume. On the other, the controversies, the criticism, and the parts of his story that won't disappear. The mailman left the court decades ago, but the debate around his name is still in the fourth quarter. Still close, still heated, still split straight down the middle. And right now, nobody can say how history will finally rule. If you made it this far, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone deep in the GOAT debate. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Does Malone have a real point, or is he reaching? Let's talk about it. See you in the next one.